And I don't think we equate Bible study with self-care.
Right.
It feels like work or a checklist. But I wish we could change our perspective on that and see quiet time and devotional and prayer and worship as like the best form of self-care.
I think you praising God at the top of your lungs in your shower or in your car is going to fulfill your soul in a way that a pedicure never would. I think time in the Word, journaling, talking to Jesus is going to give you what you need more than any amazing Dutch Bros iced coffee could give you.
Yeah.
And that's the oxygen we need. That's what we're really longing for. That's the best kind of self-care. And that's soul care. And it gives a payoff that nothing else can.
Hey moms, welcome back to the Gather Moms podcast. We're so glad you're with us today. We have been in our series called Mom Struggles, and the past couple weeks have been a little Debbie Downer because it's been mom guilt and burnout.
I mean, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Your job is hard.
Yes, but they're very real things. But yes.
So today we're going to kind of turn a little bit.
Let's go.
Towards something that's fun and hopeful. It's called self-care.
Self-care.
Listen, I think that self-care kind of can get a bad rap.
Well, yes, because it has had its heyday, and then people are like, I don't know if self-care is the answer to all of the world's problems.
Exactly. I think one side of self-care is like, yes, me time, manicures, pedicures, massages,
Yeah.
And I think the other side kind of makes us feel a little selfish.
For sure.
And frivolous.
For sure.
God, I'm spending a lot of money on this stuff.
I want to honestly say that I think anytime anyone says self-care, it triggers me a little bit inside where I kind of
100%.
go, but is that a healthy self-care, or really are you just like, I think anytime we start with the word self, and it's so interesting that we live in a generation,
Yes.
Selfies have been in the last 10 years.
Yes.
Self-care, like we live in a very selfish generation.
Yes.
Or time in history, but maybe all of history has been selfish. But I don't think of like the greatest generation as being selfish. Like the ones that went off to fight in the World War II. Yeah.
The women that went to work in the factories.
But we are just like predominant, like there's this pervasive idea of just selfishness among us. And I think especially as if you are a Christian and listening to this, we know that putting self above others is not our goal. And that's not how Jesus lived. So there's always this kind of tension of like, okay, yes, like I kind of know I'm supposed to like take care of myself, but also Jesus washed feet. So like where as a believer,
I don't like washing feet.
Yeah.
So.
Can I tell you honestly? Okay. So when I was in high school, I led a Bible study of my girlfriends, and, one week I wanted us to wash each other's feet. And so I had this whole thing set up with all these bowls and everything. And the girl that I was about to wash her feet, she said, I have to warn you, like my feet smell really bad. And I was like, sis.
That was so nice of her to give you a little preemptive.
Yes. And I was like, it's not a bit, because I'm thinking like, how bad can feet be? Like, it's just, like it's
How old
fine.
are you at this point?
15, 16.
Okay.
And I'm like, how bad could it really be? Like, it's just feet stink. Generally, like feet don't normally smell like roses, but it's not going to be that bad. When I tell you, it was like I opened a bottle of vinegar as soon as she took her socks off. And then I was literally like, oh my gosh, what have I agreed
I can't
to?
breathe.
And then can I tell you, like the smell remained on my hands. Like, I mean, it was strong, Becca. It was strong. And so, I mean, straight up, she warned me. But, like washing feet, sometimes.
I mean, typically that smell carries too. Did everybody else in the room get a little whiff?
I don't know. Everybody was real polite and didn't say anything. And of course, I wasn't like, oh my gosh.
You were right.
I wanted to be like, ma'am, I think you need some medicine for this.
Well, that's the thing. People do have like, I don't know, athlete's foot and stuff. That can be rough.
I keep wanting to say gingivitis, but gingivitis is in your mouth. But like,
well, and we think it's like so like pretty and sweet, but those boys have been walking dirt roads for many days.
Yes. So I know I
There's
derailed.
no
You were about to talk about something else, but that memory just flashed in my mind, and I was like, oh man, bless her little heart.
Moral of the story, be careful whose feet you wash. Okay, so listen, self-care is sensationalized in today's culture.
Agree.
It's definitely, anything that God creates, Satan counterfeits.
Yes.
So God actually has some stuff to say about our bodies and our health.
Yeah.
But of course, Satan's taken that to the nth degree and created this selfish society.
Yeah.
It's propelled on social media, manicures, yoga, fancy coffees. I think there was like a hashtag for a while, like hashtag self-care or hashtag self-love.
I 100% feel that
people were
true.
using.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of have this idea that self-care is a little bit like narcissism.
Yes.
Like you're almost like, I'm so tired, I have to go get an iced coffee to survive.
Dude, and okay, so here's the thing is I don't want to knock self-care because moms are, notorious for not making time for themselves and taking care of themselves. But can we just agree that actually the more you focus on yourself, the more your problems seem bigger?
Right.
It's counterintuitive because you think, okay, I'm run down, so I need to think more about myself and focus more inward. When really the most freeing thing that we can do for ourselves is be about others and how we can meet their needs and serve them.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's just crazy. When you take the lens off of yourself, it actually sets you free. You can get in a really bad space when the focus of your life is yourself.
Exactly. It's not fulfilling. And we're going to talk about that. Let's talk about what self-care is not.
Okay.
It is not an escape. It's not the idea that you're just going to run away from your stress, your burnout, your mom guilt for a little while, and you're going to go focus on yourself, and then you're going to feel so much better afterwards that like everything's going to be different.
Girl, because can we tell you, you go on vacation and you're like, man, you are feeling good. And then you get on that plane and you're feeling good. And then you come home and you're like, I cannot wait to see these kids feeling good. And then you open the door and we are 90 seconds in and you're like, take me back.
Yes. Yes.
Take me
Exactly.
back. Take me back. Like because, it just doesn't hold.
No, that's funny. Self-care, it doesn't hold. That's, really a t-shirt or a slogan or something. That's good. Okay. The other thing self-care is not, it's not self-medicating. So it's not going to bring some sort of healing that you were looking for. I think sometimes we think that, shopping or whatever is going to put a Band-Aid on whatever is wrong in our life, but it's really just a diversion. Like we're just diverting our focus from what's going on in our life for a little while to ourselves, and we're just trying to forget. We're just trying to forget the stress that's in our life.
Yes.
But just like you said, as soon as we come back into that same situation, whatever we felt like medicated our pain earlier is gone.
Yes.
And it's right back at us.
Yes. And can we be honest? We're not trying to villainize spa time, manicure, pedicure, a trip to Target where you're just walking aimlessly, a good cup of coffee. We're not villainizing any of those things. We just want to make sure that we are using them correctly and not expecting them to give something that they're never going to give.
Well, we've talked about that a lot in Mom Struggles, expectations. Mm-hmm. Like when you go into a situation with a wrong expectation, it's not going to give you what you hoped for.
Yep.
And then it almost leaves you more disappointed than you were when you started.
Yeah.
So self-care has to do with anything that we do to take care of our physical and mental health.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
We all want to be physically and mentally healthy. But when we look at it from the perspective of Jesus, biblical self-care is really about stewarding what God's given us.
Okay.
I'm stewarding my body, my mind, my heart, my energy, my focus. And this includes all different types of things: relationships, your talents, your abilities, your time, your energy, your health. And these things, when we steward them correctly, enrich our life.
Yes.
They bring it up.
Yes.
They take us out of the pit into a place where we do find freedom. So self-care should be seen as a way to enrich our lives, not to distract our lives. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a pretty practical way to look at it. Like when I'm going out to get a pedicure, am I trying to distract myself from stress or burnout? Or am I going, you know what? I just would really like one. I think it would make me feel good. Honestly, my toes right now need one.
Same.
I'm going to wear sandals to church this weekend.
I could take someone out. Like if someone attacked me right now, I could just use, it's like the Wolverine. I could use these toes and just like slash, you're done.
We've learned so much about your toes in the past few weeks. I feel like that's been the theme of our podcast.
You're welcome.
Kate's toes.
You're welcome.
So there's nothing wrong with iced coffees and buying a new outfit, taking a nap, scrolling social media. There's really nothing wrong with that unless we're using the margin in our life towards those things instead of other things that bring us the joy, the peace, the healing.
That's right. I love your line about is it to distract or to enrich? That's a really good way for us to measure it, what it's giving. One of the things I've been thinking about this lately, it was really popular for a while about how moms need to put their own oxygen mask on first.
Yes.
Because it's that metaphor when you're on an airplane, you would feel the impulse to put the oxygen mask on the kid, but you have to put it on yourself first so that you're getting air. And we get that. And moms, we struggle with that because we want to make sure everyone else's needs are met before our own are. And it really does make sense that you need to make sure that you're doing okay, mama, that you're getting the air that you need so that you can make sure that your kids are getting what they need. My question is, because I feel like we're a lot better about realizing that now, but I think where we have gone wrong is what we're feeding ourselves through that mask. Because we know, I gotta make sure I'm getting taken care of first. So we're putting our mask on, but what's funneling into you from that?
Exactly.
Is it really life-giving oxygen that we get from the life giver?
Yes.
Or is it just nails and coffee and Netflix time?
Yes.
Because that's not really going to actually give us the life, the energy that we need in order to be able to pour into other people.
It's that idea that if I'm choosing self-care to address me, like my needs and my wants, then what I'm also going to find in that is my weaknesses, my failures, my limitations. But if I am seeing self-care as a way to find more of God, then I've actually found a resource that goes beyond what I can do because he's more than enough.
Yep.
So when I tap into him and I spend time focusing on how he's created me and how he's gifted me and how he is strengthening me, then you walk out better than before.
It's a game changer. Yes.
So I think where I'd like to start is with scripture, because I always want to go back to the Bible. Like, what does the Bible have to say about self-care?
Yeah.
It doesn't. The word's not in there. What did you do last time on burnout? Did I say, did you find burnout in the Bible?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
It's not in the Greek. Yeah. We're not going to find it there. But God actually has a lot to say about how we take care of our hearts and our minds and our bodies.
Right.
And I think what's so interesting is he actually set an example for us in this.
Yeah.
So if we go all the way back to Genesis, in Genesis chapter 2, he's created everything, the earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, even humans. And then it says on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested from all that he had done. He blessed the seventh day and made it holy because on it he rested from his work. God rested. There's our first example.
Yes.
There is no shame in resting.
Yes.
Because he knows that we need it. In fact, he set aside an entire day of rest, which that's a whole nother podcast, how we in society have gone away from Sabbath. We don't give ourselves a day anymore. We give ourselves 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother thing. But he did set aside one day of the week, and he called it the Sabbath, and he made it holy, which honestly for me, when I think about women back in Bible days, it brings me such comfort because I feel like their lives were even harder than ours.
Well, they're turning that butter. They're picking that wheat.
Listen. And they don't have a bathtub. They can't even wash themselves properly. But I love the fact that God gave them a day because I think they were supposed to have everything prepared for the Sabbath before that day. They weren't cooking or cleaning. I think they got to sit down.
They got to rest. I love that God prioritizes rest. He modeled that he, as God, needed rest. And I love that that's the first thing he does with his created beings.
Yes.
He could have said, okay, here you are. Now we got a lot to do. So get moving. But instead he said, okay, you're here. Now let's rest.
That's right. And when we go to the New Testament, we see Jesus doing the same thing. Throughout the New Testament, you will see scriptures that say he withdrew to desolate places and prayed. He went up on the mountain to get away from the crowds. He knew that his body needed rest too, because even though he was fully God, he was fully human. He got tired. Yeah. He got emotionally and physically and mentally depleted and needed that time away. So I think it's so important for us as moms to remember, we do need rest. There are going to be seasons of motherhood where you need more rest than you needed the season before.
Yes.
I mean, when they say you bring that newborn home and you sleep when they sleep, that's true. You do that. When you have a teenager in the house that's not coming in till midnight, you're not going to sleep till midnight. You're tired the next day. There is no shame in a nap. If you need a nap and you have time for a nap, take a nap.
Yes, and making sure that rest doesn't get cut out when the things change. So, everybody pushes back against, you nap when they nap. But that advice is good and true because you need the rest. And you may say, well, then when do I get everything else done? When do I wash the bottles? And I don't know, ma'am, what can you cut out so that you have time to do those things? Or how can you ask for help?
Right.
Because your rest is a priority.
Definitely. The other thing I thought of when I was thinking about this idea of self-care and scripture is I thought about the story of Mary and Martha. Because Martha was potentially in a moment of burnout.
Yeah, girl.
Because she was prepping the house and cooking the food and getting everything ready. And I think as moms, we do this. We see another mom engaging in like something that looks fun and we get jealous.
Yeah.
So Martha looks over at Mary, who's sitting at Jesus's feet, and she's like, what? Girl, you should be in here helping me.
Yeah.
Which I think it's so funny. She doesn't actually go to Mary and say, Mary, get up. She goes to Jesus, like straight to the top.
Listen, if y'all don't know this story, you know, Jesus, Mary and Martha and their brother Lazarus, they live in Bethany outside of Jerusalem. And we actually know from scripture that he was good friends with their family. And so he would go visit them periodically, especially in the last week of his life. He was probably there every night. And so he goes to their house and he's with the disciples and shows up. And Martha's like, oh, I got to make these people a meal. So she starts running around and she looks over and Mary is sitting at Jesus' feet listening to him, which there's so much there to unpack. But she's sitting at his feet listening to him. And Martha, just like you said, Martha looks at Jesus and she says, first of all, you just feel, it's so cringy. You feel so much. You're like, ma'am, don't do it.
They
It's
must
about
have
to
been
happen.
good friends, Kate. They were probably like best friends.
Okay, she looks at Jesus and she says, tell her to help me. And Jesus, bless him, he looks at her and he says, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and worried about many things, but only one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion and it will not be taken away from her. And he applauds that she has chosen him, a moment of quiet and still instead of busyness.
So I think we apply that to our own life, Mom, and you may have a total list of to-dos for the day, but the better portion for you is to sit with Jesus before you get started on that to-do list.
Yep.
And I don't think we equate Bible study with self-care.
Right.
It feels like work or a checklist. But I wish we could change our perspective on that and see quiet time and devotional and prayer and worship as like the best form of self-care.
I think you praising God at the top of your lungs in your shower or in your car is going to fulfill your soul in a way that a pedicure never would. I think time in the Word, journaling, talking to Jesus is going to give you what you need more than any amazing Dutch Bros iced coffee could give you.
Yeah.
And that's the oxygen we need. That's what we're really longing for. That's the best kind of self-care. And that's soul care. And it gives a payoff that nothing else can.
And I want you to hear from Scripture today. God says you should rest.
Yeah.
And God says you should sit with me.
Yes.
So when you choose those things over other things, you're choosing what is going to, just what Kate said, give you oxygen.
Yes.
So do not feel bad. And don't allow other people's expectations of you to pull you away from those things.
Mm-hmm.
All those things can get done. I mean, really, we can get the things done during the day we need to. And we can take things off the list that don't need to get done that day. But the most important things for you are to do those two things, and those are straight from Scripture.
Yes.
The other example I thought of is actually from the Old Testament, and it's in 1 Kings 19. And we have this prophet named Elijah that's doing God's work, and he's doing some cool stuff. Like, if we can see that movie in heaven, I mean, it would be pretty awesome. But he actually fights all these prophets of Baal. They do this big showdown on this mountain, and there's fire and bulls and blood and water and all kind of stuff. But he wins.
Yeah.
And then he starts getting chased by this Queen Jezebel, which, bless that name. You know, some names in the Bible, they just get hijacked.
That's it.
That's one.
Yeah.
And so he takes off running into the desert because he is trying to escape this crazy woman. And he gets to this, like, it says a broom tree, I think. Which makes you think, was it like the only tree there? Just a flat land, and there's
I don't know.
a tree. And he just lays down, and he is so exhausted and tired and scared and fearful and just whooped.
And says, God, I'm the only one. I'm the only one out here.
Don't we say that? God, I'm the only mom that's been doing all this stuff.
Yes. He feels alone and like unsupported and just wore out. Yeah.
I think he says, take my life too. I'm done.
It's dark.
Let's just go to heaven right now.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you that experienced the solar eclipse a few weeks ago, Jesus did not come back. So,
but
we're
how
still here.
cool to consider that potentially that's what it was like when the darkness went over the earth when he was on the cross.
But wasn't it darker longer?
Yeah, but maybe it was a longer eclipse. I don't know. Get back to your story.
Okay, listen. Okay. So he's under this broom tree and he just lays down. And it says that when he opens his eyes, there's an angel there. Mm-hmm. And the angel has a jar of cold water and a something of bread.
Yeah, just something to eat.
Bread, but it says it's baked over hot coals. Like,
Ooh,
how
like
good
wood-fired
bread, hot bread is. And the angel says, drink, eat. And then he goes back to sleep. The angel is meeting his physical needs in that moment. He is obviously emotionally spent.
Yeah.
And he's saying crazy things, which moms, we do this. I get emotionally spent and I say crazy things.
Sure.
And the angel says, what you first need to do is eat, drink, and rest.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, sometimes moms, we just need to go get a snack.
Yeah, and it's that simple. And you have a loving God who just says that. I shared in one of our previous episodes about burnout where I, went to Jeremy and I was like, I'm in a really bad place. And I talked to my counselor and she brought up the example of Elijah and she said, you probably just need rest and then like something good to eat. Mm-hmm. And I followed that example. And why do we feel guilty about that? No, this is how God met his needs and can meet ours.
Well, and this is where I would say we have to be discerning here, because I know for myself in the afternoon when I am tired and like, oh God, I got to do dinner and all this kind of stuff, I do sometimes turn to an iced coffee.
Sure.
Or a Spark, which for those of you that don't know, I'm this huge Spark fan. It's delicious.
Yes.
That's probably not always the best choice. Because I have not drunk water all day and I have not had protein all day. And I have, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think, moms, sometimes we do have to be discerning with what are we doing to give ourselves that sustenance in that moment of depletion.
Yes.
Because I don't think we're always turning to the right things.
Sure.
And yes, it's going to give me that little boost for a couple hours, but then I'm probably going to be depleted again.
But can we be honest too that like we can praise God for that iced coffee? Listen, ma'am. Okay, I don't want to villainize the whole thing because he created that too. And I think it's okay to say, we don't want to replace that for what we need from God.
No.
And so it's okay to say, hey, God, I need you. I need your help. And he just may send a little angel that says, here you go, ma'am. Dutch Bros Caramelizer at your door.
Yes, I agree. I'm just going to push back a little bit and say I have found myself in an addiction at some point where I needed it every day.
Agree.
Went to Starbucks every day, went to Dutch Bros every day.
Agree.
And it was medicating.
I think so.
It wasn't helping.
I agree.
And so I just want to say to you, don't allow this worldly temptation of a quick fix to take the place of what's going to be most beneficial for your health and your wellness.
I agree.
And yes, today I've already planned to go to Dutch Bros.
Look at you.
Because they're offering an extra points for my purchase today.
I love extra points.
I want a free drink at some point.
Okay.
So no shame in the iced coffee.
But can we just say, okay, we bring that up a lot, but can we be honest that like, I feel certain, Becca, that you spent time with the Lord this morning. And like, for me, we kind of had a mix up with car drop off. And so I didn't get my necessarily like super quiet time with God. But after I dropped the girls off, then I had 20 minutes on the road and I did the podcast I listened to where I listened to the word. And can I just tell you, I had a beautiful time with God in my car. And that has to happen. That piece has to be there. Then there could be an iced coffee or something that enriches and not, is it distract? Is that the other word you're using?
Yeah.
And so that's all we're really looking for here is that it's enriching and not replacing what we actually need with God.
And I do think we talked about this in one of the previous episodes where, I think it was with burnout. You don't know it immediately when you're in burnout. Mm-hmm. I don't know it immediately when I'm medicating with other things.
Yeah.
And it'll take me sometimes it can take up to a month where you're like, something's not jiving. I just don't feel healthy right now. And it's like I didn't even realize that I was putting to the side God and putting other things in his place.
For me, sometimes it's shopping. And like the bags will start piling up or the Amazon deliveries keep coming. And then I go, oh, wait. I think I'm looking to get something out of that it's never going to give me.
So it's one of those things, moms, where this is not like an immediate, I shouldn't do that. It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes the Holy Spirit's nudging on your heart over and over again for you to go, oh, wait a second, I'm doing this all wrong.
Yeah.
And over in my life as a Christian, I've had to reprioritize, reorient, refresh. It's not this thing that you get once and you just do it the rest of your life.
I agree.
So maybe this episode is just an opportunity for you to go, oh, maybe I should look at that and see what's going on.
Yep.
Because I think for Kate and I, it's the same thing. Sometimes we'll do one of these episodes and go, I didn't even realize I wasn't doing the thing I'm telling you to do.
Exactly.
So don't feel any guilt for that. Just go, great, God, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to just think again about how I'm spending my days, my time, and my money. So one of the things for self-care that I think is most important for us to walk away with today is that first and foremost, it should be spiritual, that we should be connecting with God, who is the life giver, that anytime I put anything in his place, it becomes an idol. And that idol is never going to fulfill the way that God does. And so the joy that I want to find in that thing is only going to last for a short time, and then I'm going to be empty again. But when I spiritually fill myself, I find strength that I didn't know I had. I find time and opportunity and margin that I didn't know I had because God's able to change my perspective in the way that I think. So spiritual self-care is so important. But then I also think that practical physical self-care is so important.
Yes.
And this is not necessarily the manicure, pedicure, iced coffee, because those things are the joy on the other side of I did the things that I knew was going to bring me the most health and wellness, and now I get to enjoy these extra things. So just some things I want to remind you. We talked about it first and foremost in Scripture, getting enough sleep at night.
Yes.
Making sure that your rest is a priority and not feeling bad when you need to say, I need a nap today because I didn't get enough. But listen, if you need a nap every day, you may need to relook at what time am I going to bed? Am I scrolling too much? Should I just close my eyes and go to sleep?
Do I need to make a doctor's appointment because something may be wrong with me?
Hormones.
As far as, some kind of level nutrient hormone, that's, we need to prioritize that.
And eating a good balance of protein and carbs and fiber. I know for sure that I go weeks where I eat terrible every day because I'm busy or the kids or we're eating in the car or we're going out. Sometimes you can't change your schedule in that moment. Like you're like, I got to finish this project till we're done. But there are ways to make better choices as you go. And I honestly, I don't know enough about this. I would love for us at some point to do an episode on like just the way our bodies function when they're healthy with healthy foods and proteins and things. My son is 14. He's a wrestler. And so this kid is all over health and wellness. And it's so funny to me the way that he'll check labels and see. And it's not that he's not eating, but he's like, Mom, I just got to eat better. I don't know. Maybe I need to eat better. Maybe we need to eat better.
I think just making sure that we, are limiting fried foods, making sure that we are eating things that are fresh, that have color to them is very important.
You love your colorful plate.
Those things that we're shopping ideally around the edge of the grocery store and not as much in the middle, things with less preservatives, like just if we can keep an eye on that and that we're giving our body good fuel.
Good fuel. Yes. Okay, next thing, moving our body in some way on a daily basis. Exercise is so important. I have an Apple Watch that'll tell me like when I've, stand up or whatever. And when that ring closes, woo, that's an iced coffee moment.
Okay.
I close my rings. But this is one thing that I am terrible at. I am terrible at it because I just assume because I'm taking care of kids all day, I am moving. And so I don't need to exercise. But you do such a good job of prioritizing getting outside and walking and doing exercise.
Honestly, it just helps me so much. I think when I found out that walking changed a lot for me as far as how I felt, then I really do prioritize it. And now I've gotten into such a habit with it that it's just a habit. So, I'm moving my body 5 or 6 days a week. And it's a goal to hit 7, and then there will be days when I don't have the time. But I do like a little, like Beachbody is like this little program I pay for online. But I think you can, and I do a 20-minute workout, or I go walk 2 miles. It's not like I'm hitting an hour at the gym or something, which is just kind of bananas. But just regularly moving my body helps me work at optimal level.
So I work at a little boutique, and I was in the store the other day, and a friend came in, and I was like, what'd you do today? And she was like, oh, I went and worked out at 5:45 this morning. And every time somebody says that to me, I'm like,
I know.
I don't even know how you do that.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, how do you do that? And she said, because it makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
And she goes with a friend, and she said the accountability of us making sure we're getting up and going together is so healthy for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are some of you that can do that. Yay for you.
Okay, but the thing is too, I mean, listen, I'm not getting up at 5:45, but the thing is, once it becomes something that you're doing regularly, it just becomes part of your life. It's just like brushing your teeth or washing your face, or like you just start doing it.
Yes.
It just is just finding the way to get going with it and have some accountability. And then all of a sudden you look back and you're like, wow, I've been doing that consistently for a year, and you realize the changes it's made for you.
So here's your freedom in that today, Mom. You don't have to get up at 5:45 to do that. You can do it at 7:15 at night. You can choose the time of day that you do it. But if you would just try over the next few weeks to put into practice an idea of getting outside, getting some exercise, whatever it is, even if it's right in your living room with a video, see how that makes you feel.
Yeah.
And it might change the self-care because you might actually feel better in your body.
Yes.
And have more energy. Next thing I think is important for self-care is a little bit of alone time each day.
Yeah.
Just 5 to 10 minutes where you can just stop and just take out the world and all the demands and just sit with yourself for a minute. I bought this thing for Greg for his birthday. It's this eye mask that massages your eyes and
I've
has
seen
heat.
that, yeah.
Okay. I fell into the trap of somebody else said it was great. So I bought it. Y'all, it's so great.
Okay.
It plays music too, and it's like 20 minutes.
Okay.
So you put it on and you just do 20 minutes where it just massages around your eyes and plays this little soft music. Oh my gosh. Life-changing. I was like, this was so nice.
Love.
It's just that little short time.
Does he like it, or do you feel like it was a gift for you?
Oh, it's a gift for me. I mean, I just don't think he has the he can't sit still that long.
Yeah.
So I bought it for him,
Yeah.
but I might get to use it too.
Great. Good. No, I love that. This last one you just said is probably the hardest for me. It's hardest for me to sit still and just breathe. Honestly.
Yes.
When I go to get acupuncture, I have to lay there for 15 minutes with these needles in my face. And when I tell you that can be torture, and I have to lay there and just breathe, just be like, God, okay, what do we need to talk about? Who do we need to pray for? Because I just really struggle to lay there and be quiet.
It's a good discipline to get in the habit of doing.
Yeah.
A few more just to kind of finish this up. Number 1, go to the doctor.
Yep.
Or not number 1, I think that was number 5. Go to the doctor, get your regular checkups.
Yeah.
I'm in my mid-40s now, and things are starting to fall apart in my body.
Yeah.
And, of course, I have to go to the doctor for those things. But I think just put it on your calendar. You're going to the doctor once a year. You're getting your checkups. I'm so amazed at how many women have not been in like 7 years.
Yeah.
What in the world?
No, things start to change, especially once you turn 30, things start to change a lot. And we've got to be really good about checking in on those things.
And
regularly.
I hear a lot of women say, well, once I stopped having babies, I just didn't see the need to go back unless I was sick.
Yeah, no.
You need to go. Make sure that you're also spending time with friends.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of our values is community. There is something that you cannot put a price tag on when you get in the space with other people who love you and encourage you, and how much that makes you feel invigorated to go on and keep doing the things that God has for you to do. And how often when we separate ourselves and we just don't make time for it, we're too busy, or maybe we're just having a little depression, mode where we're like, I just don't want to see anybody, how much that affects my mental state.
Yeah.
I don't want to do the things I'm doing. And I do start to medicate more with all these little extra things that I think are going to make it better.
Yeah.
Community is so important.
I love all the things you've listed. I think those are true self-care, that we're spending time with God, that we're moving our bodies, that we're getting healthy food, and that we're spending time with friends. That is truly how we care for ourselves.
And listen, like Kate and I said at the beginning, we don't want to make anything out to be a villain here, because I do think that there is a joy in buying a new shirt. And there is a joy in, swinging through a drive-thru and getting Chick-fil-A French fries. I mean, that brings me joy. Listen, lately it's been the diet frosted lemonade. Girl.
Heard about that?
I mean, it's like no calories, right? That's what it says in the name. There is nothing wrong with those things. But what I have found, the longer that I have lived, is that I am emptier than before.
Yeah.
And the phase that I'm at right now in life with teenagers, I just need so much more mental and physical strength to deal with all the things that are happening, that I want to be the best version of myself in order to be the best mom for them. And that's going to require prioritizing things that are, what Kate said, soul care.
Yes.
Time with Jesus, getting alone, quiet, worship, exercise, taking care of yourself. So do those things first and then go have fun.
And we want to help you with those things. And so coming up in May, we have something called Good Day Gather because we want you to have more good days. And so we're going to have an initiative each week in the month of May to help us get some good, healthy habits under our belt and hold each other accountable to do those things. And so we're going to be doing that over on Gather Moms Patreon. Go over there and get connected to us. When you join us at the $10 level, we're going to send you the cutest ice drink koozie. If you join us at the $20 level, we're going to send you and a friend an ice drink koozie. They're so cute. So make sure that you join us over there. We love you, moms.
See you next time.